Live from the Talking Joe Studios. It's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air.
You just caught me reading People of New Zealand by Sam Moore. And that is because we're doing a special episode today. It's a bit of the beaten track of what we normally do. Normally we're talking about specific G.I. Joe issues or G.I. Joe creators. And here we're talking to someone who is into G.I. Joe and seeing how it has influenced their work. And it's specifically about a book that's coming out soon that I'm very excited about as well. So while we're going along, we'll find out a bit more about that. So with that little preamble, joining us from Christchurch, New Zealand, it's the creator of The Traveller's Guide to Phlogoria, coming soon from Scout Comics, it's Sam Moore.
I'm reading that one too.
Oh, you've got a coffee. That's a coincidence.
Yeah.
Andy. So, yeah, I picked this up a little while ago. A great little read. And, when I'm doing doing work and something is whirring away at the screen, it's a good one to pick up and just spend a couple of minutes flicking through while
I'm sure there's some character transfer over there to where you are as well.
Yes, yeah, I think there is some quite universal tropes of character types in there for sure. I think we've all got an office Jan or
You need one.
Exactly, yeah. Any functioning office. So I was going to start with just a little sort of preamble onto how I sort of found out about you and your art, because it's sort of interesting how it all came together. So I first found out about you through my kids, who during the pandemic would be doing Zoom art classes with Art Room Brightons, where we are, and the instructor there, Seb, would often start the class with, "Here's some inspiration of an artist, and we're going to try and use their art style to come up with a piece of our own." And what he shared with the kids was a couple of pieces of your art, specifically the cat on the walker, and this piece with the
Rotisserie
robot
bot.
rotisserie. So they had that as their inspiration, sort of working away in their on the Zoom class while the schools were closed. And this is what Thomas came up with.
It's amazing.
I'll go full screen on me just for a second there.
That's so
In full
cool.
glory. So he came up with this dog on top of a washing machine with, like, I think it's a beaver or something inside of that. And
That's amazing. I love it.
a bulldog hanging off the side, which is a little bit, I think, Jeff Darrow.
I love it.
So that was how I sort of got introduced to your stuff, and then I sort of had to sort of Google and go, who is this guy? What was his stuff? Found your Instagram and thought, this is amazing. Sort of, click, follow, scroll through all of the history of stuff you've posted, and then just things popping up in the feed as you post them. And then after sort of already kind of thinking your stuff is great, then you start posting some sort of stuff of your office moves. So you posted this Viper onto Twitter quite a long time ago, but
long time
what
ago.
what I saw was your office move, and you started posting some photos from your office layout, and I was going, what? He loves G.I. Joe as well. What could be better? So
Yeah.
let's talk about the role of GI Joe in your
Yeah.
office and your collection first of all.
Well, my wife doesn't let any of my stuff leave my office, so it's kind of full. It's full of
I
all
don't
this
know what
stuff.
you mean.
Yeah, doesn't kind of go with the rest of the decor of the house. But it's just sort of my creative space, I guess. I mean, in the back we've got like Ralph McQuarrie,
Oh,
Star Wars
right,
art.
just there. Hmm.
There's other toys in the background there. It's just all the things that I couldn't afford when I was a kid that you can. I mean, some of these are
Yeah,
old, but I bought the ones on screen. I bought off a poor guy that was trying to buy a house, and he was selling his GI Joe
oh
collection.
no.
And I think I got these for like $20 each, and I still feel bad about it for him.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's just the there's something about the packaging and the sound that these things make. I don't know, that sound that takes you back
Rattle.
to to being a kid. And so I just want them around. I love them. I like them in the packet as like an art object almost. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
there's something about, like, if I was a millionaire, you'd have to buy like three of each. You'd one to open, one just in case, and one one to put in some sort of hermetically sealed room
Yeah.
just for future generations. I just love them.
Yeah. When they came up with the design for that packet, they sort of somehow, I'd say lucked, but I think it's beyond that. They had some real
Yeah,
talent and skills there, but they
yeah,
had just the perfect sort of meeting of creative minds to be able to have that, the figure, the art, and all of the
yeah.
design touches on the box that
It's
all of
it's
these
always
years
like
still sings.
when you're a kid, it's like you'd think you'd want to rip them open, but it's the choosing the one to get was always the best part, you know, because it was always a giant wall of them, and you just had to look
Yeah.
through them. Like, I kind of never went in knowing what I was going to get. It was always whatever caught my eye.
Right. And you wouldn't, and
Yeah,
because there wasn't necessarily, publicity and internet and all of these kind of things that we've got now, you wouldn't necessarily know what might even be there until you went into the shop and see
exactly.
the latest wave, what's on the wall.
Yeah, especially if you're living in the art
Mystery.
end of the world, you never know. We we probably got things like 2 or 3 years after you guys would have got things like that. But I don't know.
Right,
There's
right.
something about it. I just wish I could go back in time and revisit that sort of moment. I guess that's why I keep them. That's why I still have them.
Yeah, like what was the kind of the distribution of GI Joe as a or Action Force? I don't know if it was it branded GI Joe down there.
Yeah, it was GI
Um,
Joe. Yeah, yeah,
and yeah, what was the distribution like? Was it everywhere like it was kind of in the States and over here?
yeah. It's really funny. Like, we never got the. I don't think the cartoon ever screened on
Mm.
TV here. So it was all through. I guess would have been through comic books and just getting the VHS like compilations of movies out from the store. But in like department stores, that was the boys' toy. I remember, like, it was sort of post He-Man and pre Ninja Turtles. I guess it was everywhere. It was GI Joe and Transformers, right? That's what
Yeah, yeah.
what my big things were, and they were sort of out at the same time.
And what was your first Joe figure that you can remember picking up?
Would have
Your
would have
first
been
couple.
would have been Hawk, I think, General Hawk.
Uh-huh.
I still got him somewhere in the cupboard there. I think he might have been in that photo you showed. Um,
Right.
he was the first, I think. Yeah, I think where is he on the back of something there? He's in there somewhere.
Oh yeah, he's on the back of
Yeah,
the
there he is. Yep.
snow vehicle, whatever it's called.
Yeah, so he was my favourite, my first one, and I've still got his file card somewhere.
Okay.
And I think then it would have been maybe Sci-Fi, who was pretty cool. I always wanted his boots. I thought they were the coolest boots ever. So he was pretty cool. But
Yeah, I
I
always
think
imagined he was RoboCop.
yeah. Well, like, I think because it was New Zealand, I think we probably had a lot of the older ones at the same time as the like second or third series as well of
Right.
lines. I
Okay.
think they were all mixed up. But I always wanted Bat. He was my favourite.
Mm.
And I just bought that yesterday. I got it from a
All right.
place on Instagram. So that's shipping its way over here now. So yeah, I think Hawk was the first, and I got as an Armadillo, the tank as well, and then maybe the Devilfish, little jet boat, which I would really love to get again. Really love to find that.
And I don't even know what that orange thing is. I've never had one of those in my collections. That's one of the later Cobra tanks.
Yeah,
I think by that point
I got that at a yard sale, like maybe
I
5 or 6 years ago. That one, yeah.
think that's right on the sort of towards the tail end of the original run.
Yeah.
And yeah, have you kept on? You've kept on with the adult collecting, but have you delved into the 6-inch GI Joe classified?
No, I haven't. I can't bring myself to do it. I feel like if I'm going to spend some money, I'm going to get the original ones. You know, I might one day though.
It's a slippery slope. Once you've broken the seal on
Yeah.
it, then it's like,
Yeah.
where do you stop? Yeah. Cool. So you had some. Oh yeah, we had some props as well from that you said you got to hand. So let's see what you keep
What
on
have we
your
got here?
to hand on your desk.
This was my fave. This was one of my faves. I just thought he looked cool.
Excellent.
He's in pretty good nick. That was another $20 one. I feel terrible. That poor guy. And this
I think we
one
said
I had
that
to get this.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Before I hit the record button, you picked them up from someone who was trying to raise some money to move house, and I'm sure a lot of GI Joe collectors have had that kind of dilemma at some point.
Yeah, I felt terrible. Like you could see he didn't want to get rid of it either, but you know I couldn't pass up, so I got this guy. I think I got this guy on an online auction. Yeah, pretty. He's just ridiculous. I just love the fashion. Yeah,
he's wild.
Volta, I didn't even. Volta's ridiculous as well. He's fun.
It took me until
Sorry, you go.
I was going to say, it took me until I was an adult to realise that Voltar's backpack was actually a perch as well. That it's got this metal thing that I thought was like an antenna or something, but actually no, just rotate it and it's a perch for the bird.
He's more like a Warhammer character, that guy. Right.
Yeah, he's wild.
This guy's pants are just out of control.
That's the leather neck with yellow and like zebra pants, isn't it?
Yeah, I had the original leather neck. He was quite cool because he looked exactly like my uncle, and I thought that was really amazing at the time. Or like a mixture of the New Zealand cricketer Richard Hadley and my uncle.
He was designed, but the look of Leatherneck was his face was based on the designer Ron Rudat.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, and then Snow Serpent V2.
Yeah, he just came with so much stuff. It was great.
Just into looking cool with his board and that.
We've got a couple. We've got a snake. I wasn't a huge fan of this one, but it was just so mint that I had to pick that one up.
Yeah.
And what have we got? We got another version of Sci-Fi. I love the art on that one. I think it's great.
It's a little bit more muted than the first one, the V2s, but it's not a bad update.
So those are my pack ones. I've got a bunch of loose ones. You know, they always break in half, and you have to get new O-rings and stuff like that. So I've got a bag of those somewhere. You know, but I'd love to get more. I'd love to get all of them. If I was wealthy enough, I'd get all of them.
But presumably the sweet spot is probably where you first started that wave. I don't know, was it year 4-ish with the V2 Hawk, and the Viper and all of those guys. Before they get
too colourful, you know, they're sort of transitioning towards that more extreme type. Late 80s, early 90s build, you know. But I don't know. There's something about them. They're all silly and stupid, and I don't know. There's something about them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everyone's got their favorite era, and yeah, I think they've all got their selling points, haven't they?
Yeah.
Um,
Like I say, there's some that as a kid I would joke, oh, that's just so stupid. I'd never buy that. But now I just think they're great. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so yeah, we were talking about toys, but and you mentioned comics as well. So did you pick up the comic in your youth when it was originally coming out? And
I think I probably started with, because I was big into Transformers. It would have been that Transformers GI Joe crossover.
right.
And probably went from there and then went back and forward, just picking up random comics when we went on holiday or a road trip or something like that. So, but I think the GI Joe Transformers thing, I just thought was the coolest thing to ever happen, and had to start getting that. Yeah.
Is that just an American import that you would have been picking up from somewhere?
Well, we didn't. I don't think we had a comic book store, so it would have just been whatever random comic was at the bookstore. And I remember my cousin or something would have been into it as well. But it's one of those things like I probably couldn't even grasp the fact that comics came out every month. I would just pick up a random issue and just went from there. Like I have, issue 5 and issue 30. There's nothing in a row, but it just would have been one of those holiday things.
Yeah, similar for me, that sort of just knowing that the comic sort of came out regularly and there was a way of getting it monthly kind of was a little bit of an anathema. So I'd sort of pick up, back issues here, there, and everywhere where I could find them, and it was just interesting because you kind of piece together the kind of the chronology, an issue here, an issue there, all out of order, and sort of piecing together kind of the broader story. And it's quite a fun way of actually discovering it.
It's just the perfect thing. Like a comic book and GI Joe and Transformers were made for each other. Just especially back in the day, the sort of old school, coloring, which is simple and sort of messy and not exactly perfect, works well with the toys, But I think the thing that GI Joe appealed to me was the fact that the toys looked like the comic, whereas Transformers, they don't. Especially those early ones, don't transfer to a comic very well. If you drew it correctly, it would look really stupid, But,
yeah.
with a GI Joe comic, you can see
when they were drawing Megatron. When they were drawing Megatron from didn't translate quite so well at all.
No.
So did you sort of piece together like a collection of like a run, or pick up the trades later on, or have you been?
Like I say, if I see one, I'll buy it. And back in the day, I'd still buy it just to have it there. Half the time I buy them and don't read them, but just to have them. But back in the day, I'd probably get, especially that Transformers run as well. I'd have that. I've still got that somewhere as well. I'd definitely have that run.
Yeah. Have you sort of delved into any of the more modern GI Joe books?
Yeah, every now and then I pick up, especially if there's a new artist on or something that looks really cool. What was that recent one? I can't remember who it was, but it sort of was a hark back to the cartoon, but in comic book form.
Right. Yeah. Saturday Morning Adventures.
Yeah, that was quite cool. I really enjoyed that. Anything that gets that feel, like I guess there was even maybe 10, 15 years ago, there's sort of a run where, I don't know, comics are a bit silly and they were all the same style, and that sort of didn't really appeal to me. But if something can capture that feel of the 80s original stuff, then I'm all for it.
Yeah. Did you check out the Tom Scioli Transformers versus G.I. Joe? That's wild.
Yeah. It was great. Yeah, great stuff, mate.
Excellent. So I saw your sort of collection of toys that you posted on your office move, and thought, hey, he does these cool illustrations. He's into G.I. Joe. And then later on, you posted. I saw some of the box art and things like that. Your box art style covers that you'd been posting for your book. and then I thought, then that blew my mind even more. It was like, you're not just sort of collecting GI Joe. It's sort of being incorporated into your work, and it was a lot of fun to see these sort of variant cover sort of or just bits that you've been sort of posting for fun. I guess this is 6 here on screen. So is that 6 that you've made for cover Bs for the book?
Yeah. Yep. That's there's the run is 6 issues, so 6 covers. Basically any excuse to do this sort of thing and get it printed, and then maybe just get the thought in the publisher or anyone that thinks, sees it and goes, oh yeah, we should make those. That's basically what I'm trying to do there. I want someone to go to message me and say, I'm going to make those a reality, like any excuse. Just any excuse to have that awesome front, and then the back cover is obviously like a file card, just like the original G.I. Joe stuff, with little profile blurbs about each character and their features. And there's one I did of Office Jan.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just that. I just love that aesthetic, and that's a friend of mine made the renders of the models as well. So it's just, if that gets, if there's a toy maker watching or a company that wants to mass produce these, I'm all for it. So
because
as you can see, that character's me, by the way. So
I was gonna touch on that because I was wondering to what extent are you, as some of this being influenced a little bit by life, because I saw in when we're introduced to the main character there, Harry Blanford, that he's working at a local press. Is it something press?
I've changed it to Creek Church, but that's
Creek Church. That's right.
Yeah, it's basically, I don't know if you want to get into it now, but it's basically the first idea was, if I put myself in the comic book, then I can use myself as photo reference, and it will be a lot better, a lot easier. And then I thought, let's put all my flaws and insecurities into that character, and then it just went from there. And I used to work at a newspaper about 20 years ago in Christchurch, and even I sent you the first issue, and even my little car in that issue is my car. So those locations are all real locations in Christchurch. Right. Yeah, but that's me in action figure form. It's weird to put myself in action figure, because that's not really me at all. But
in action figure, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, who knows? Because there's these fan sort of passion projects now where the concept of being able to produce some figures of your own is not quite as outlandish as it once might have been.
No, not at all.
There's Skeletron, Robo Skulls down there. They're doing amazing things, and Carson Metaxas of 3D Joes is doing Operation Recall. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Were you tempted to send in a little design, or?
If I ever get enough funds, I will get these characters made, kit bashed, as in, with G.I. Joe parts. That's what ideally I'd love to do. These aren't sort of 100% G.I. Joe accurate, but I would love to get them made with that proper G.I. Joe aesthetic.
Right. So we've just I was flicking through some of the package designs, and I think this next one, you've kind of got the back of it as well, with the full the list of characters on the back. A sort of very sort of giving you a little bit of a preview of some of the characters to come, and the wider world. The clip and save file card, and a lovely touch here is that on this image here, you've got the bubble being ripped off, and all of the marks sort of around the yellow. So you don't
Yeah,
have the,
that was my backup if I couldn't work out how to get someone to do the 3D
Right.
models. I thought, oh, I'll just have it. So some kid's torn it open and left it like that,
Wow. So that was before the 3D models
Yeah.
came about.
He would make a great
and-
G.I. Joe Clark. He'd be great.
He were the security chief with his sunburnt head and
Yeah.
wild attitude. And Steve looks like he's going to be somewhat of a star. Steve, the service spot,
Yeah.
somewhat a star of the series. I've got the turnaround of Steve, if I can just share that as well.
Yeah, I
Tell us
love
about
it.
how this amazing 3D model of Steve came about.
Well, it's just a follower of mine on Instagram, Harad, if you look him up. He's a pro in the gaming industry and stuff, and I just put up a thing, draw this in your style of my Steve robot. And they came up with this amazing, like, beautifully done render, which I now use. I have the 3D file and I can import it into some layout software and use that for posing and stuff like that, just to get the reference all right. But I love that. It's just one of the best things that anyone's ever done for me. It still blows
That's
my mind
wild.
that people would spend their time doing that. So, like, if I'm drawing, let's see what we got, because I do a bit of my line work digitally just to save time, and then I color it by hand.
Okay.
So if I've got, like, this,
Let me-
if you guys can see that, there's Steve there. That's one of the original pages. So I can bring that 3D model in and then just get the angles right and everything. But it's just been an absolute perfect time saver for me, and it's made me far more efficient. Get some more Steve. Steve loses it. And sort of goes on a bit of a robot rampage there for a bit.
Wow.
Yeah, Steve has some issues, but he doesn't know that he has issues. So yeah, he's been through a lot, but he doesn't really remember anything. But yeah, he's probably my favorite character out of everything. Him and Clark.
Mhm. And I was wondering as well about some of the inspirations. So I mean, this looks like it's kind of lived in your mind for a long time. Like the postings for this look to date back about 6 years, and it might have been in your brain before then.
Yeah, if you go back maybe even 10 years, I've had some of the characters, especially Clark. It basically started, if I can't sleep at night or whatever, I'll just sit there sort of daydreaming in my head about a place that I might want to go, and that's what Flagoria is.
Right.
And then it was just an excuse to keep drawing. Like when I was still gainfully employed, I would come home. I would come home and just draw stuff because I didn't want to touch the computer. I would just start drawing, and I thought, let's give all of these drawings a reason and a place to live. So I thought, let's use that sort of fantasy land that you could go to, and it all came from there. And then started posting. I think there's a Reddit thread, the Flagoria Reddit thread, which I didn't start, and I just started putting stuff in there. And a guy in the US slid into my DMs, Drew, if you're watching, and I thought he was taking the piss, but he said, "Can you make this work as a story?"
Wow.
And he's in Los Angeles, and they sort of look after me now, which is pretty awesome, and sort of got me on the right path to making this a cohesive story. And it was, at one stage, it was going to be a sort of in development as a TV show, and that's, you saw the bottom sort of fell out of the industry a couple of years ago with COVID and everything, and then thought, let's try it as a comic book. So now it's going to be a comic book next month. So, and is currently back in development as a TV show, possibly. So, it all went from starting a Reddit thread from an idea that I had like 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah, because I mean, I sort of what struck me, sort of going through that Reddit thread and all the various postings and stuff, is that there's an awful lot of world building going on there, of like creating these, enormous, cast of characters and locations, and essentially building out the world. So it was this guy reaching out to you to kind of hone that in to actually build it into a more than just a world, into a sort of more cohesive story. And this was
almost
someone at Scout Comics.
It gave it a finish line, if you know what I mean, like a possible finish line. Like otherwise, I would have just drifted and drawn what I wanted, And
Right.
I'm all for creative freedom, but if you just let a creative person go for it, they'll never finish anything. So it's good to have like a brief. Like it meant that I had to draw things that I might not necessarily have done if I hadn't had to. But yeah, the world building part is fun. Like I mean, as much as I love Mad Max and stuff like that, I hate how everything is a post-apocalyptic world. Like, and everything is terrible and bad. And I just wanted a world that was that I could go to and just draw the mundane things as well as the warriors and like I don't know. But basically, the story was like, what would happen if I got transported to another world? How would I deal with that as an extremely average person? Like you see here on screen, like, I've got to learn how to, before I can save the universe, I've got to work out how to take a piss, and how to operate a toilet. So it came from that. So the world, I get sick of real high stakes stories. Like, I mean, that's the problem with the Marvel universe now. Every movie is about saving the universe, and I'm sick of that. So how about just stay alive for long enough to to do something? So that's basically what the story is like. He's got to learn how to shower. He's got to work the shower. He's got to work the toilet. He's got to work out how to eat. How's he going to survive in this world? And that's basically what the story is.
Yeah, it's the mundane things that everyone would take for granted, sort of plunge into a new world, and sort of have at it. So what would you?
Sorry, you go.
I was going to say, what do you think of the sort of the main melting pot of kind of ideas and influences that sort of go into this one?
Well, I think a big, like stylistically and like color wise and stuff for me, it's people like Mobius and stuff like that. Jean Girard. Just if I could be a 100th of 1% of how good he is and how colorful he is, I'd die happy. But the influences, obviously, like you think of the mundane things. It's obviously the Star Wars universe, how they have, you can imagine those characters having to have a shower or have a job and have food, that sort of things in the background. I like that. Like, I feel that you look at, say, the cantina scene, you could go to any of those characters and see what they do when they leave the cantina. I'd like that sort of feel. And I feel that's what I want in this universe. Like, any background character has a whole life that if you wanted to, you could focus on that. So there's Star Wars, obviously, which pretty much got me drawing in the first place when I was a kid. And I don't know, just wanting to know more about this universe that's in my head, I think.
And there's a obvious sort of overlap, at least in terms of the name and some of the themes, to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy as well. Was that a big influence when a big impact on you when you I guess a young teenage reader, perhaps?
Yeah, I think it came later when I was doing the comic, but it has always been an influence. I think it's the scariness and the silliness of the universe as a whole when you think about it. Like,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous that we exist and the universe doesn't care, and that's kind of terrifying and funny, you know? And that's what I love about that story, and I've tried to bring some of that into this.
Yeah, for sure. It's got a lot of the same sort of inventiveness and yeah, sort of hitting your funny bone in all of the right places.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
So
one of the things at the start that Harry realizes that is that he's only got one pair of underpants. So, like, what's he gonna do when that gets dirty? You know? So stupid things like that.
absolutely, and yeah, sort of obsessing a little bit about macaroni cheese. I think.
Yeah, well, one of the main things, especially it's about me really, is that I mean, especially years ago, I used to have quite bad anxiety, and it's how Harry deals with that as well. Like, he's on a different world, but he can deal with that. But it's the little problems that really get to him. You know, it's
Right.
like that's why the macaroni cheese is like a motivating factor, because he has to break it down into silly little things like that. You know, otherwise he wouldn't leave his room. So it's like he can deal with those big problems because they don't feel personal, but it's the little issues that sort of he has trouble dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned sort of building out a cast of characters, and I think for already out, and I don't know if there's still a way of being able to get it, was a kind of a zero issue, which had
Yeah, it's the
a lot
little
of information about the. There you go.
little ash can. Yeah, I'm sure you can because I think only my mum bought a copy. I'm pretty sure you could probably get some of those. Yeah, and this is sort of a part of a development doc that you can see on screen that we're working on to develop it for television if that ever happens.
I
So
see.
that's kind of fun, going through that and sort of fleshing out motivations and how people act. And I love these two characters. They would make great GI Joes as well. They're just sort of like a, what would you call it, like a sort of police force in Flagoria, but they're woefully underfunded and they don't
Mhm.
get the best people applying for the job. So they're kind of fun. I think the character on the left there is, I think their motivation is giving people wedgies. I think if I read that, I remember that.
Yeah, wielding with sort of mediocre powers become mediocre responsibilities,
Yeah,
or some such.
but I just love
Um,
that hodgepodge sort of. You know, I hate that sort of everyone's an expert assassin with amazing weaponry. So I like this sort of thing that they have to bring their own footwear and things like that because they can't afford that, and all their sort of weaponry is falling apart. And probably 30 or 40 years old. I just love that sort of dirty aesthetic. The pants are all slightly different, the jackets are different, things like that.
yeah, yeah, and there's this yeah, they sort of there's a dirty aesthetic for sure, and I think that sort of I mean the name that you kind of go by, Ugly Ink, it kind of sort of gives us a bit of an indication that there's a sort of an element of delighting in the grotesque and
Yeah,
having
ugly things
everything
are
a little
way
bit.
easier to draw. Ugly things are way easier to draw than fancy polished things because you can hide your
That's
mistakes.
true.
Yeah,
Yeah, drawing like a gorgeous female is tricky because
oh,
slight slip of the pen and suddenly they're not so gorgeous anymore. Whereas,
they've got upper lip here, just like Napoleon Dynamite drew. So
cool, and yeah, we talk about the aesthetic and a big part of kind of the look of the book is
yeah,
this
cool.
is the kind of I was going to let's get back to that in a second. Is the kind of the look with the Copic marker kind of look the sort of is here. There's sort of like just there's color everywhere, but somehow not overloaded and sort of a very sympathetic sort of use of of color, and it looks sort of very kind of painterly, but yeah, I think the weapon of choice that you use is kind of the Copic. So
Yeah.
did you want to talk about kind of your kind of your process a little bit? I've got a couple of things here.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
Slide share about.
that's pretty much
Go.
it. Yeah, basically, like I was saying before, it was I learned to use markers when I was studying, and then got into digital art and just didn't touch them for 15,
Right.
16 years. And then when work was at its worst, thought I need to do something off the computer. So I started drawing them again, and that's sort of where the social media profiles came from. Was just putting that stuff up.
Mm.
And now I wouldn't color with anything else. Like if I didn't have to, I wouldn't turn the computer on at all. You know. But it's just I'm quicker coloring with by hand.
Mm.
It limits me and my color choices as well, which is great because
Right.
on the computer you have an infinite amount of colors, right? So you're always trying to make decisions. And I know all of my colors. There's colors behind me. I don't have all the Copics. I've got a pretty limited set.
Mhm.
And it also helps everything that fits together. Everything looks like my work there because of all the
Right.
colors that I use, or the limited colors that I use. Like I wouldn't buy a new color now. I would buy
Oh
refills
wow.
of existing image markers that I have. Like I say,
Mm.
it makes it quicker for me. It limits my choices. And like like I shade every shade that I do is usually blues. Just to save time, save money,
Mm.
save
Mm.
decision
Mm.
making. It's great.
And I think up there on your, did I say maybe on your Instagram profile, you've listed yourself as a Copic ambassador. What's a Copic ambassador, and how did all that come about?
Well, they were just asking for people to show their work that use Copic stuff, and I just have to tag them in a few things, and they'll send me out
Uh-huh.
some markers every now and then, and help promote my work. And they've been really, really good to me, so it helps me save on the costs a little. But it's just, I mean, I would promote their stuff even if I wasn't involved with them. I just think such a great product, and it has just sort of saved my creative life, if that makes any sense. Like I wouldn't be doing any of this if I hadn't picked up those Copic markers again.
Right. Okay. And I didn't kind of twig until until I saw you post about it that actually there's little to none in the way of solid blacks, and spotted blacks, that it is all kind of looking like that, sort of the line work completely open, and then it
Yeah,
is straight to color and shade without that that that's the sort of the solid black look, which
yeah,
is kind of almost ubiquitous really in sort of like Western comics, that you see the kind of the solid spotting of blacks. So
yeah.
it lends itself an interesting look.
I think that is purely my limitations as an artist. Like I have no confidence putting that amount of black down. Um, like I'm not a, a trained comic book artist. Like I just don't know how to do that properly. So I've just worked out my own method. So I'd love to be able to do that. Like I see, like well, one of my favorite artists is Cam Kennedy, and just the way he works with ink and stuff, I just can't. I just don't have the confidence to do that. Um, uh, I don't think I ever will. So even if I was doing a nighttime scene, I would color everything like it's daytime, and then make it nighttime using blues,
Right.
if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Yeah.
Whereas if it was a traditional comic book thing, they would just black out all of those spots. Whereas I would color everything and then make it nighttime afterwards. Like even one of these scenes with this character, I find quite intense because it's got a bit of, it doesn't have full black in it. It's got like a 80%
Hmm.
black or grey marker in there, and I still find that quite intimidating. But I think it's like people always ask, like, how did you get your style? And your style is pretty much whatever you're good at and whatever you're terrible at, and that combines to form your style. And that's just why that's like that.
Yeah, I see. I see a little bit of similarity to like Jeff Darrow, who again is a big admirer of Mobius. They worked together. I think some of his early work he coloured Mobius. I think was it.
Yeah, he might have.
Project
Or even
City on
recolored.
Fire,
I'm not
something
sure.
like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, very again, very sort of open style. I've got a couple of other examples of
There's a
pencils
Devilfish inspired boat.
It's nice. I didn't put that two and two together until you
That's where the
said,
colours came from. Yeah.
the orange of the boat. Yeah, Devilfish. There we go. And it's sort of comparing and contrasting the pre-color and the post-color. It's sort of you can see how much of it comes together in the actual the final piece compared to the pencils.
Yeah, the lines, even some images don't have a lot of line. The lines take me way longer than the color. Like,
oh really?
The color is very like natural and intuitive to me. Like, I can just sit there and zone out and do it. Whereas the line work, I really second guess sometimes. I feel one of the things I was thinking of is my artwork is getting better in each issue of the comic, and I kind of want to go back to the start and redo
No,
it.
madness slows that way. But
yeah, that was funny. That was a butt themed book commission. The guy said, "I'm doing a book about." And you can draw whatever you want, but it has to have butts in it somewhere. So, and there's another part of the drawing. There's a robot with a butt in it. But and I don't know what even happened to that book. But he paid me for the drawing, so I'm happy with that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
There was something that did prompt me to think of something, but then I was completely thrown by the butts. No, it's gone. I was maybe it was going to be so to say that it's like a completely different sort of part of your brain, the sort of the line work versus the coloring, and you sometimes you put on Instagram sometimes the like videos of doing some of the colors, and to me just watching that to me sometimes stresses me out. It's like you've done all of that work, you're putting on the colors, and if the color was to go then wrong, what do you do? What do you do?
Hey, well, I've got it. Well, that's the thing. If I have a really detailed comic page, I will sometimes do the line work digitally using Clip Studio. It's a really good drawing program, and so I can print directly onto the paper now, the marker paper, and then just color over the top of it. So if it's a piece I'm worried about, I might even do the inking, scan it, and then print it, or do it digitally and print it, and then I can screw up. But to be honest, the color, it's so easy to hide mistakes that you can kind of get away with it. Like, I mean, there's things that you won't notice, but I will just notice the terrible things or the mistakes. But I've learned some good techniques of hiding the boo-boos.
Yeah. I mean, because yeah, I can't even begin to think, but it's not like, and because the medium of choice is Copic, it's harder to just sort of go over it and in a thicker layer of paint, for example.
You can darken, like you always go.
You can always go darker.
Is you start very light. Every color you put down is lighter, and then you go darker and darker and darker as you go. You sort of layer it like that. But it's the painterly aspect as well that can hide sort of imperfections, and it makes the whole image an imperfection, if that makes sense. So if it was digital stuff, then that's probably why I prefer to do it by hand. If it was digital, I would have to try and get it perfect. There'd be that little white pixel that didn't get filled in by a color fill or something, and it would annoy me. Whereas with this, you should almost sort of put a layer down of color and work up from there. and it sort of just makes it more
Right.
cohesive and hides or just like I say, everything has an imperfection in it, so it makes it hides the big mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah. Because on this middle one, you can see there's that kind of intermediary level.
Yeah.
I can't work out. I can't see the text to see what it says, but it's kind of like almost the in a digital way you'd kind of call it the flats or something of having
Yep.
a
Yep.
base layer, and then it's kind of the details painted out in
Yeah.
and it's like alchemy to me, sort of, because you'll be sort of having like a brown fence or something then, and you'll be putting on layers of blue to darken it.
Yeah. That's like I said, like a normal person would probably just colour that blue from the start if they knew it was going to be, in shadow. But me, I have to put all the colours in and then sort of decide what time of day it is after that, if that makes sense.
And you mentioned as well going back to redraw, and yeah, please don't do that. Just keep on going forward. Keep on going forward. We need more story. But looking back, like kind of to the big starting, postings online of the kind of the things that have been tagged as Flagoria. That the style, you could definitely see an evolution between some of those earlier pieces and kind of what's made it into the comic. And to what degree is that like sort of a kind of a natural evolution versus a conscious decision to kind of slightly, change the style?
It's a mix, I guess. Like at the start, it was just drawing whatever I felt like drawing on that day, and then when other people become involved, or you've got to make it cohesive, then you think, no, that doesn't really fit anymore. But yeah, like I say, it was pretty much if I felt like drawing a rotisserie chicken robot, then I'd just draw it, and then maybe work out how it fits in the universe later. But he's still in there though. Like he can still fit in there, but yeah, it's just giving it more focus. And I do have another sort of universe that I was pitching a few years ago. It's where I put the sort of crazier, more spacey UFO alien monsters type stuff. So I've kind of segregated those sort of things now. But yeah, I guess I've dialed back the weirdness slightly in Flagoria. But I think that weirdness might come out later on if I ever do any more comic issues of it.
Yeah, because I guess there's it's the mystery of what is Flagoria and what is it all about, etc. But it's, I guess, one element of the weirdness style being dialed back is that most of the characters involved are at least humanoids. That it's not like everyone is a different type of alien. So you do have some kind of guide rails that kind of keep you in from going too weird, and at least in terms of the look of some of the main characters.
Yeah, I think it's like I could have gone weirder, but then I think there in the comic I don't know how clear it is, but there is a link between the Earth and Flagoria, and whether that's, I won't give it away, but it could have been in the ancient past, or there could be some. I mean, there's a reason they both speak English, or a version of. No, I wouldn't say they both speak a language that we can understand. There's those sort of links.
Yeah, and talking of language, I had it somewhere popped up earlier that within the comics you've got these great sort of advert pages, which sort of, I guess, is another where kind of another sort of space for you to go slightly crazy and do something completely different again, and it's all written in this sort of alien language. And then as I was reading it, I was thinking to myself, I bet all of these words actually are text and mean something, and you've created
they all work,
entire alphabet yourself to make it work.
Yeah, it goes back to when I had to do when I worked in advertising and working with copywriters and doing your own little bit of copywriting. So all of those have a spiel about what they are. So you can translate that if you're bored enough. You can go in there and translate that. But the idea for the ads was, I thought, one of my favorite parts about old comic books is those pages with the prizes on them that you could send away for.
Mhm.
And I just thought, no one's gonna actually be paying money to put an ad in my comic, so I'll just make my own. So throughout each issue, there's 2 or 3 different ad pages. I think even in issue 3 or 4, I've got like classifieds for Flagorian car sales and stuff like that. And there, that is mainly just wordy text, but you can go up there and translate that if you want. So yeah, all of that text works. Some of the logos obviously not, but even see that little rainbow logo. That's see with the little walkie-talkie phone thing. That's Flendelheim, which is sort of the big conglomerate
Right.
megacorp of Flagoria. So they make everything. So they make all these toys and the cars and all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
In world, and this is sort of not segued into anything, but I think one of my favorite designs from the book is this guy, the Sentry Buddy,
Oh yeah.
who I think is just a little bit inspired. He's kind of this smiling faced kind of Transformer GoBot looking kind of chap. Then sort of when he's then he gets activated and he's doing doing that, and the angry face pops up. It's,
Yeah, he's fun.
that's inspiring.
There's sort of he features in issue 3 and 4. And he's not incredibly intelligent, but he's got a task. He's got a job to do, and he does it to the letter of the law. Yeah, he's fun. He was inspired actually by was it the Rock Lords? Remember those toys? They're just like rocks, and they turn into robots. So I don't know how do you even play with that. I don't. But
Yeah, it's
he
like
was inspired
some
by that.
market. Yeah, some marketing exec was like, "Yeah, Transformers, they're hit with the kids. Let's do our own version, and we'll just have them as
Yeah.
rocks." Yeah, so rock mode.
The reason, like the smiley face, is that why not put a smiley face on it? I can do whatever I want.
So yeah, sort of we've kind of probably glossed over it a little bit, but do you want to kind of do a little bit of a describing of kind of some of the I guess the key elements of what this story is, and what people can expect if they pick it up?
Well, basically, it's like I was saying before. It's just a regular dude who gets transported to another world, and it's not like everyone's trying to kill him or he's trying to save the universe. It's just him trying to find a way home, basically, and sort of learning to come out of his shell a bit more and be a bit more positive as a human being. And he's got this little robot friend, Steve, that he rescues at the start of the story, and they sort of become friends and sort of influence each other and change each other as people. And it's just his journey with Steve across Flagoria to try and find a way home. That's basically the small sort of short gist of it, and it's about the things he does along the way and the people he meets and the sort of landscapes he sees. And basically he's got this little guidebook that he sort of adds to and reads and learns about. And I don't know, that's the little sort of short gist about it, but it's not overly violent or anything like that. It's just, I mean, there is moments of action in here, but I mean, there's a massacre in front of you now, but but it's how it's how he deals with those moments, and how, say, if we were in that situation, what would happen? He's not an expert assassin. He's not a ninja. He's not super intelligent. So he's just using his own attributes to get through this sort of massive situation.
And yeah, you sent me a preview of a couple of the issues, and yeah, really enjoyed those. And today I have shot across an email to my local comic book store,
Cool.
saying please add it onto my pull list. So it's in preview, so I'm assuming that it should pretty much be available wherever good comics can be found, from Scout Comics. First issue out June 21st, 2023. Previews code APR 231822. So yeah.
Grab it so my mum doesn't have to buy all the copies, please.
And it's planned to be 6 issues originally, is it?
Yep.
And
5.5 issues so far are completed. I'm just working on the final one now to try and wrap it up nicely. But 5
last
issues are already in the can. Yeah.
And what's the plan beyond issue 6? Because I guess there's a lot of world to explore that you've created.
Yeah, well, I think the first 6 issues are, I would almost think, is they work alone, and then it's sort of, if there were more, which I'd like to do, sort of Harry can go and explore more and be more comfortable in that world, and sort of maybe explore the even weirder side of Flagoria, I think.
Yeah. I do certainly hope that we get more and see more of that world. And I'll let you plug while we're here where people can find you. This is one of the places.
Yeah. If you just, any sort of social media, you type in that Ugly Ink, and if that red logo comes up, that's me. If it's not, it's not me.
No, you're not a tattoo artist or anything, are you?
No, I am not. And I think there is another illustrator from New Zealand called Sam Moore. So make sure it's the one with the red logo.
Yeah, I think it's unmistakable. So yeah, good branding though. Ugly Ink everywhere, across all of the main platforms. I think I've covered pretty much everything that I had got in my mind that I wanted to talk to you about. Yeah, was there anything else that you think people should know, or you want to?
No, just follow my work, like stuff, comment stuff. I'm always, if you send me a message, I'll always get back to people as well, and especially if it's advice about drawing and tools that I use and things like that. And got some exciting things planned. So we've got the Traveller's Guide to Flagoria is also in sort of early development as a TV show as well. So
Wow.
it doesn't really mean anything these days in development, but it's I've got some good people working with me and helping me out, and if all goes well, there will at least be a little trailer of sort of proof of concept thing coming out next year, probably, with that, which is pretty exciting and pretty ridiculous if you'd told me that would happen once I started posting art. So,
and would that be live action if it happens, or?
I'll be working with an animation company called Look Mom Studios. They're in Canada and the US, so they're really cool, and they're helping me so much with character development and making things work, and I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, let's hope it moves on to bigger and better things, and get a lot more of it. So yeah, thank you so much for taking the time, letting us know about the world that you've created, and yeah, so how some of it has been inspired by G.I. Joe.
My
Bring
pleasure.
it all back to G.I. Joe.
Yeah, if anyone wants to send me their G.I. Joes, if they're trying to buy a house, I'll take them off your hands.
Excellent. So I think we normally finish off by saying that, if this is your first time hearing about Talking Joe, you can find us at talkingjoe.co.uk. That is the website to find out more. And that as we wrap up, we remind people that nobody beats Talking Joe, an international podcast. I didn't sing it in the same way that Tim normally does, but just imagine it was sung nicely and enthusiastically, and more international than we sometimes are, being in the UK, New Zealand, and our American and world audience in spirit. So until next time, laters.